I got a call on a Sunday afternoon from my now boyfriend. He was just my friend at the time. And he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing homework." And he's like, "Do you want to manage my band?"
Hey everyone, this is Profesh Sesh, the podcast, and I'm your host, Sophia Welch. Every week, Profesh Sesh is presenting conversations with smart, successful, no BS music industry professionals, all with the goal of helping new artists and those who support them build their creative careers with great advice, stories, tips, and insights. Welcome to episode 1 of Profesh Sesh. What a better way to kick things off than with one of the most interesting and innovative artist management companies out there today. We have some seriously real insights about what it takes from Seth Kallen and Markwell, who are the leaders of this fiction. They've galvanized the careers of artists like ex-ambassadors and Saxe. I am going to stop talking now. You can see it for yourself. I've read so much about both of you. You have this incredibly exciting artist management company, and I have a lot of questions that I want to get into, but I first want you to explain your company's name. So why this fiction?
Well, the boring answer behind why we're called This Fiction is actually my company was originally called This Side Up. And then that was started in high school when I was trying to name my high school video production company. My teacher made me do. And I looked at a bag of popcorn and it said This Side Up. So I thought that sounds like a cool company name. And then the guy who co-founded the company with me is a guy named Josh Roth. And he had a company called Light Fiction. And when we joined our companies together, we just called it This Fiction. We thought of this after the fact, but after we named it This Fiction, we thought, it's like what we love doing as managers is telling people stories and artists sharing their stories and sharing this fiction or nonfiction, I guess. But that was we didn't think of that before we named the company. We just thought of that after the fact.
I love that. So it was the joining of the two. So you're touching a little bit on the origin story of the company, but will you tell me more about that? How you got started, and then Anne also how you got started and how you ended up joining?
I was or I guess still am, but barely pick up the guitar. I was a singer-songwriter and in a band, which is how I met Jukebox the Ghost, who are our first client. And, I've worked with them for nearly 17 years now and known them since I was 17 years old. So I met them playing a show with them at their university at the time. They were at GW. I was in high school, so I drove down to GW. And when I saw them play, I was just like, how does no one know who this band is? I have to just tell people about them. So essentially, I just kind of fell into management because I loved them so much. It's not like I wanted to be a manager. I just wanted to be their manager. And that's how I started in college. And then, when I graduated, kept managing them and signed various other bands, worked at a small management company for a few years post-college. But when ex-ambassadors, who we've worked with for 10 years, when they signed to Interscope Records, I took that as an opportunity to just fully go out on my own and build the company of my dreams. And Anne joined 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago.
Yeah, about 2.5 years ago, February 2019, I think it was. I guess I had a pretty similar story as to how I got into management as to Seth. I went to Berklee College of Music as a vocal performance primary. Going into Berklee, I thought generally I wanted to be in music business, but I really had no idea what that meant at the time. And so during my time there, I did a bunch of different internships, and I'd kind of come to the conclusion at the end of all my internships that I liked all of the things that I had learned and done during those internships, but I didn't know which one of them I would want to do all day, every day. So I didn't know at the time that would mean maybe management was for me until I got a call on a Sunday afternoon from my now boyfriend. He was just my friend at the time. And he was like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "I'm doing homework." And he's like, "Do you want to manage my band?" And anyways, fast forward, I ended up meeting with the band within the next few days after that. And we really hit it off. And they were an indie folk band. And this was during the time of the Lumineers and Mumford & Sons and all those bands popping off. And that was a genre that I really enjoyed, was a fan of. And I was just like, this is a really cool way for me to apply everything that I had learned in my internships. And also coming from Berkeley and being friends with musicians, I felt like I communicate the best with artists because they were my peers. And so it just made sense, and it clicked at that moment whenever I started to manage that band. And I just learned by doing, and I just tried to do everything that I had learned from my internships and just thought it was really fun. And I managed them for my senior year of college. And then coming out of school, I was like, I want to do this full time.
Well, you both mentioned these like first bands that you worked with at that point, it was their music that you responded to and why you agreed to work with them. Do you feel like that's always how it starts? Or when you're listening to bands or artists that you are thinking about managing, what are you listening for?
It sounds cheesy, but it just starts with the music, you know. And I think that's probably a through line for what I've intended for this fiction to be, you know. A lot of times, like, look, when I first heard Jukebox the Ghost, I was just like, this is unbelievable. I have so much fun watching them play shows, and they make me feel so many emotions throughout their songs and performance. And so I can only assume that other people will feel the same way. And then we've never been a management company that is like, how many Instagram followers do you have? Or what are you doing on TikTok? It's just like, because all of that to me is it's so fleeting. Like, I remember when people would talk about how many, I don't know, what you were doing on MySpace versus how many Facebook fans you have versus how many Instagram followers. And it's just like, so I don't care about any of that, which could be an Achilles heel sometimes because, you know, we get presented many artists that are doing well and have big social media platforms to go off of, but I just never care. And for me, and I think everyone that works with me at this fiction, it's just about, you know, it's about the songs, it's about the person, you know, it's about like, okay, I love this music and I love this human being. Am I going to want to be talking to them on Tuesday night at 11 p.m. when they're upset about something? Or am I going to want to be traveling around the world in a tour bus with them? And the answer better be yes. But, you know, but yeah, for us, it's just like, it has nothing to do with the analytics.
Right. So with Jukebox, you liked that they were having fun on stage, that the music made you feel every emotion. And with so it's also about what the individual person is like, if they're unique as well. I want to back up a little bit. Seth, you had mentioned college and that Anne, you sort of just became a manager in college and that was the best way to do it. And Anne, I guess let's start with you. Is there anything that you didn't do in college to sort of get a head start that you wish you had, or are there classes that you suggest taking? Everything from sort of where I would network more to where I would go to clubs, or what do you wish you had done?
To be honest, I don't have any regrets when it comes to like the music business side of my experience at Berkeley. If I look back at college and think of anything that I wish I would have done, it would be like, I wish I would have been in the musicals. I wish I would have played more shows myself, because that's really the time that you're going to be able to do that if you pursue a career in business after you graduate. So I think like it's always important to remember to enjoy the moment while you're in school, because it's only 4 years, it goes by really fast. And post-graduation years go by even faster. So yeah, just like enjoy it while you can. But I mean, I guess my classes that were the most valuable at Berkeley were ones like legal aspects, where we learned just about like the basics of how the music industry works, different types of publishing deals, different types of record deals, publishing splits versus master splits, that kind of stuff. That's all useful stuff that we use every single day. And I think just like the more hands-on experiences there, like being in the music business club, and taking the trips to New York City and meeting people who actually work in the business, was really fruitful. That's why I made most of my initial connections within the business coming out of school.
Seth, same question.
For me, at least, some of my takeaways from college were, I remember so I went to NYU and I was in the Clive Davis program. And I think I was in like the second or third graduate graduating class, or third year maybe. One of the things that the professors really instilled in us then, which I'm really happy they did, was to be an entrepreneur, right? So they really pushed this idea on us. And mind you, this was like, we're coming out of like Napster has decimated the music industry. No one really has jobs. So their push to us at the time, I remember, was like, basically create your own job. So I remember graduating, and while I was kind of looking for like, oh, it'd be cool to be day-to-day to management company and that kind of thing, generally all of my energy was spent on like making a job out of managing Jukebox the Ghost, right? And what do I want my company to be, and what do I want to represent? And it's crazy to me that I look back and I graduated in 2009, I think, and I'm like still doing what I was doing then, because that's what my teachers taught me. And I think another big takeaway for me at NYU was just like really savor that time with people your age who are also doing things that you love, because you'd be shocked at how later in life you're going to be that's going to be like your initial network of people you work with, you know, like there's so many people who graduated either my year or within a couple years of my year at NYU that I either knew then or maybe met soon after. And like, I really still feel like those people are like family to me, because we all learn together and we know each other so well. So I'm really grateful that we have that. And I'd say like, just focus on really building those relationships.
Yeah, I love that. I want to talk a little bit more about that entrepreneurial spirit that you mentioned. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, but both of you have worked at smaller sort of management companies and labels as opposed to working at the majors. Do you suggest that for everyone? Is there a reason that you did that? Seth, I know you said you wanted to create your dream company, or is there value in working at the majors, maybe at the outset and learning there, and then starting your own company if you want to?
I mean, I think there's value in doing all of it, to be honest. The job I found was a small management company. But to be fair, I was also trying to get jobs at like Red Light and whatever at the time. I just happened to fall into one where that felt right. And that was a small management company. When X Ambassadors, sort of like took off, I had the opportunity to join bigger management companies. So there was, as like a, not partner, but like bring in my clients, partner with them, take on their name. But by that point in my life, I just was like, this isn't for me. I like just creating my own dynamic and team. But no, I think there's absolutely value in trying lots of stuff, because like even my first internship was at Epic Records. I worked at the Sony building, and I thought it was the coolest thing in the world because I was working at like Sony Music, but I think I also learned, I was like, ooh, working at a major label is not for me. Like, I don't want to do this. So I think part of it is testing things out and to see what works for you. Like I have plenty of friends who are like, oh my God, I would never want to run my own management company. I love having like the digital team and the touring people and this and this and this. And like the person who manages the biggest artists of the world at the top, like that's not for me personally, but I don't know, Anne, if yours were similar reasons, but it was kind of like by happenstance, and then for me, and then I learned what I liked.
Yeah, right. Same here.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess like because Seth and I both learned at an early age that we wanted to be managers, and like it's all about like your relationship with the artist, and you don't really like have a system that you are plugged into as a manager automatically. So I feel like that makes sense for us, but it doesn't make sense for everybody. I think, like Seth said, you have to just try different things. And throughout my time doing internships, I got a taste of those different work environments a bit, so that when it was time to graduate and like get my first job, I knew more so what I was looking for. But yeah, I think it's like, there are some people that would never, ever want to do what we do. They would not like that, we don't work a typical 9-to-5 job, that, like we're kind of always in communication with our artists and we're touching every aspect of their careers. Some people want to have more like siloed expertise within the business, and that's cool too. So I think it's just about trying out different things and figuring out what's best for you.
Yeah, I mean, that's a perfect segue into my next question, which is about internships. Obviously, you've been interns. I'm sure you hire interns or have hired an intern at some point. What are you looking for in resumes? What catches your eye? Or what do you suggest these students do to land internships in the music industry?
Being a music lover and passion is probably the most important thing. Like, we don't need somebody who's interned at Sony or Warner Chappell or whatever to be able to intern with us. We just want somebody who's really passionate. And if that applicant doesn't have the work experience yet to show that they're really passionate about music, then, they could write that in their email to us or their cover letter or whatever. But passion is first and foremost, I would say.
Also, like Ann said, like when we do have interns, we look at all the resumes, and the ones that seem like they put in 10% effort and 10% more than the others, and they say, I've seen X ambassadors play at my college, and I love them for this reason, and I really love what you're all about. Like, if they just personalize it a little bit, not just list their GPA and their this and their that, it's because we're a really small company. So we don't always have interns at our company, but when we do, they become pretty integral to what we're doing. So we trust them to like talk to our artists and talk directly to the people we work with. So, we don't expect everybody to be a pro.
Okay. I want to switch gears to a lot of our audience does want to have the lives that you guys have and want to manage artists from being unknown to renowned. And so I'm wondering what the different strategies are that you've used to build careers that you now find indispensable. What are the things that you say, this has worked most of the time, if not every time? This is the thing that we want to do with every single artist.
This is going to sound funny, but when I first started managing Jukebox the Ghost, the like one piece of advice that I thought would work for them would be stand at the merch booth after every show, take a picture with everybody and shake their hands and just try to remember their name and remember that they spent their hard-earned money to come see your band play or buy a t-shirt or something. And I think that mentality always works. It's just about like only being solely focused on your connection to your fans. So if you're a manager managing an artist and they only have, 1,000 followers on Instagram, it's like removing the part of your brain that goes, I only have 1,000 followers and my friend has 10,000 followers and a blue check mark or something. It's like, no, it's talk to those 1,000 fans and make them your army and make them your, really listen to them and understand what they love or don't love about what you're doing. And I just think that never goes out of fashion.
That's a great answer. And is there anything that you feel like you've deployed with artists and it works as a manager?
I think it's just like, how do you reach your fans? And that also ties into like always letting the artist like really say what they want to say, and maintain their artist integrity.
Say I'm an artist, I'm looking for a manager. What are the personality qualities that I should be looking for? What personality traits make a great manager?
Depends who you are as an artist. It really does. Because like we are so different than every manager I know, and they're so different than every manager they're friends with, So I think it's just like there's no one size fits all. However, I will say Anne and I were not managers. We just met great artists and then decided we were managers. So I a lot of times I tell like younger artists, just like, you're in school, like ask your friend to manage you. They probably know enough about what's happening in the world of music right now, and they find someone that just loves you as much as you love your music. Like that is the most important thing, because the manager is the sounding board to the sounding board for you. We're the megaphone to the whole music industry for you. So it's just like, find someone who just freaking loves you.
Yeah, it's kind of like dating in a weird way. Like, not everybody's going to be looking for the same partner. It's kind of that way in management as well. When I think about the artists that I've signed personally, it's just kind of like an instant thing that it's like meeting a new best friend where it just works and you click and you feel like, yeah, I want to talk to this person all the time. We have a great flow. We communicate well. And of course, like sometimes that's not instantaneous. Like it takes 2 or 3 times of hanging out, but you'll know pretty quickly just based on vibes.
Right. So ideally, if a manager has one quality and like nothing else, it should be that they really legitimately believe in you.
And frankly, the thing that you need between the two of you more than anything beyond that is also trust, right?
Is there a rule about what you should pay your manager overall in the music industry, or it totally depends?
So it depends, like which person you're paying, but managers typically make commissions of 15 to 20%, maybe sometimes a little higher, maybe sometimes a tiny bit lower, but generally that's the range. And then agents make 10% on touring income only. Lawyers make 5%. Business managers make 5%.
Yeah, it's somewhat standard. And then, but when it comes to being a manager, there's always little intricacies to like, maybe you make 20%, but it's only on the profit of certain types of touring, but it's 15 on these kind of things. And and also it depends on like what manager you're signing with. Maybe they're, they manage the biggest artists in the world and they say, this is our deal. You either are in or are you out? Whereas you're working with a new, younger manager, maybe that person is like, look, I love you so much. I'm trying to just prove, that I can do this. So I'll do it for X for the first few years until we hit this mark.
I mean, it sounds like an incredibly hard job. On a scale of 1 to 10, how hard would you say it is and how fun?
10 and 10.
Yeah.
With you, and
yes, agreed.
Awesome. I mean, I love that.
I don't think I would do anything else in the music industry. I mean, like there's other things that we're building in tandem with being managers. Like we have a publishing venture we're launching. We have a record label we're launching. We run a small music festival in upstate New York. But, being a manager is the most stressful possible thing because you're always going to be the first one who gets the phone call when things aren't going well. And the way we work is we also like really deeply care about the artists we manage. So it's like, I've managed Jukebox the Ghost for like 17 years. So when they're my friends. And when things aren't going well, I'm like, oh, crap. Like, how are my friends going to like pay their rent and eat? Like, I got to figure this out. And that's really hard. That can be emotionally taxing. But so that's what makes it the hardest job. But then it really is the most fun job because it's like some of the greatest memories of my entire life have been, getting off a plane in Russia with ex-ambassadors and like fans storming them with like chocolates they made with their face on it. I'm like, this is hilarious. This is so cool. Like this. So, and I'm doing this with my best friends and we're in Russia. Who would have thought? Like, that's amazing. So that's why I'd say it is the hardest job in the music industry, in my opinion, but it really is the most fulfilling when when things work.
Yeah. I don't think I don't know, but the best memories that you have in your life are not necessarily work memories.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really special. That's really cool. All right. Thank you guys so much. This was, I feel like I learned a ton and I know our audience is really going to learn a ton. So I thank you. So nice to meet you guys.
Great to meet you. Thanks, Sophia.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
All right. See ya.
Hey everyone. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to follow Quadio on Instagram and YouTube for more episodes and a lot more content just like this, all for young creatives. Also, be sure to follow our guests at the links in the description, and we will see you next time.